more, which is terrific. As you know, we have a presentation going on with technology, and are we able to hear better? All right. We have Eric Matson, who's a longtime tech personnel. He does a lot just with technology, but so much more. He does do presentations at libraries. He worked with people in the community on how to have access and give access to people that might walk in and out of their business. Like he mentioned earlier, he helps members or friends just getting fitted with hearing aids, making sure all the right questions are asked, and that's important. And thank you, Eric. So it's good to have Eric with us. I know he's going to have a lot of cool gadgets to share. Then we have Lorin Gallistel, who's been a member for a good number of years. I don't know if you've ever been online and looked on our front page. If you scroll down a little bit, you'll see something called a Virtual Demo Center. There are many people that either cannot make it to the demo center or they were there and they were wondering what that item was. And a lot of what you see today will be on that as well. So it's basically a way of getting to check it out online through a website. And that's something that Lorin put together, took quite a bit of work and currently maintaining it. And technology, if you remember, stay in the camera, technology is ever changing. So our work is never done. It's always something new coming out. They'll be touching some things. I'm not going to say these things go obsolete, but don't go crazy. My suggestion is to think about what bothers you or what you have trouble with, and start there. Just maybe one item at a time. Check it out, see if it works. Get it in your hands. Figure out what the return policy is. Hopefully something easy. If it's Amazon, you can just take it to Kohl's and return. If it's Walmart, you can return it there pretty easy. Some of these devices are very easy to acquire, eBay, and but that might be tougher to return. So keep that in mind when you're trying to figure out what might help you, because hearing aids and cochlear implant work well, but sometimes alone is not enough. So I want to move on to Charley Johnstone, who's been around for quite a while. He's helped us with the Zoom program, trying to get this up and running. He leads the demo center. Sorry, what? Okay, yep, he does a lot with the Zooming and making sure all the equipment's up and running, making sure, we're always trying to upgrade. We're thinking about trying to upgrade this camera here. Hopefully that will happen over time. And so I don't want to carry on too much, but hopefully you guys are ready to go, are you? Okay. All right, Eric, you want to start first? Come up, take your time. And I have a mic here. If anybody has questions, if you're able, come up here and ask the questions. If you're not, I will bring the microphone to you. Okay? Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you. For those of you who might have a question for Charley, he's always the guy with the baseball cap. So you just look for that. That's kind of his trademark. Yeah. How many of you have been to the demo center? About half. Yeah. The rest of you haven't. That's part of the reason we're here today. Technology has come a long way. And we're here to talk about some of the simple things. There's a lot to see at the demo center, but if you can't make it for any reason, get onto our webpage. Because as was mentioned, Lorin has gone to great pains to put a virtual demonstration center together, and you can learn all about it. Plus, there's links to all of the hearing aid makers, the major ones, so you can check out what they're offering and what features they have and what accessories they have and so forth. So that's important. And if you can't remember the the address of our webpage. There's a handout up here. Help yourself. It shows you all of the topics that are covered, and it's got the address printed conspicuously on it. Having talked about the webpage and the demo center, how many of you have experienced hearing loops at their houses of worship? Yeah, it's a great boost. It's a great boost. Now, the purpose of the clipboard that's circulating is you're saying to yourself, maybe, well, it's my place of worship is already on the web page list of ALS equipped places. But what we've discovered is that some places have it and it doesn't work because the staff is all normal hearing and they have no way to test it. So please let us know if you've got a system, but it's not working. And if it's not working, who do you contact?
Fred has a
Yeah,
question.
there's Fred's got a question. Yeah.
I don't have a question. I want to make a comment. I want to make sure that everybody in our organization has a portable microphone to use with whatever hearing aid you have. Because believe it or not, one day you're bound to wind up in a hospital, a service center, or whatever. And that portable mic is a godsend. Yep. Believe me, without that, I'd be a dead pigeon. This Cochlear, the last version, has this portable mic, and I've used it every day. You can talk to the doctors, the nurses in the service places, and when you go to visit your doctor, you got something you can hand them. Believe me, get that extra mic. They spelled that out quite heavily when the HLAA, a national meeting was held in Rochester, and highlighted that point. And I know you do because of all the mics that you have. But even back when I had the hearing aids, not Cochlears, but the regular hearing aids, I had pocket talkers. They used that constantly when I would go shopping and whatever. Believe me, people, get that extra mic because I'll bet $1,000 before your time comes, you will wish the hell you had it. That's all I'm going to say.
Thank you, Fred. Fred is my straight man. We're going to be talking about remote mics, and thank you for that endorsement. We started out talking about houses of worship and the importance of telling us whether or not you've got a system and whether or not it works. If it doesn't work, tell us who to get a hold of, because maybe somebody in our tech team can help them get to work. One of the things that helps that effort is I go to a place called Transfiguration over in Pittsburgh, and they've got a world-class system. But I noticed that looking around from one of the back pews, it looked like a Q-tip convention, you know, a lot of white heads. And so I said to myself, you know, I'll bet there's a lot of people here who don't have hearing aids and are not taking advantage of the hearing loop. So they're going through the motions, but they're missing most of what the priest has got to say. So I got digging around. Those of you been to Hope sessions recognize it. You can get a stand-alone receiver for loops. You don't have to have t-coils in your hearing aids. So I got a couple of these and put them in the greeting area over at the church. And it's amazing to me, they all get used. every session, and they all come back. So it's a real happy experience. The priest came up to me shortly after I put him in. He said, "I want to thank you." I said, "Well, this is no problem. It's part of what I do." He said, "Yeah," but he said, "I have normal hearing. I had no way to test the system. Now I do." He says, "I can put this on and I can test the system ahead of the service." So it has a lot of advantages. Now, not everybody has a loop. Some people have an FM system, like the JCC has an FM system. There's a counterpart to the hearing loop receiver. It's an FM receiver. So whether you've got an inductive loop or an FM transmitter, we've got standalone receivers available for it. And these standalone receivers can be used with any type of hearing device. For instance, they can be used with headphones. And those of you who come to Hope sessions are familiar with that. But they can also be used with a less conspicuous earphone or earbuds. And if you got an FM system, but you've got a T-coil, you can even put a neck loop into them and use your T-coil to listen, which is totally inconspicuous. So think about that. If you've got an inductive loop or an FM system, you might want to think about doing what I did and put some of those receivers out in the grading area. Yes. Most of the receivers are in the $100 range. Okay. And how much you pay for headphones? Headphones are cheap, $10. Buds are the same thing. That leads us to a new subject which Fred touched on, and that is remote microphones. Now, I've got a remote microphone that's made by my hearing aid company. It's terrific. It's got 6 different microphones, and I can select which 6. So, like on Friday morning at our breakfast meetings, I can put this in the middle of the table and hear everybody just fine, even though it's a noisy restaurant. One of the things it does is it automatically mutes the microphones in my hearing aid so I don't hear the background noise. All I hear is what's going on in here. It's not hard to connect. I just turn it on, automatically connects. And I can adjust the volume up and down. So it's very, very useful. Unfortunately, when you get these things, and most of the major makers have an equivalent, but when you get them, they cost several $100s. And that intimidates a lot of people. So one of the things our tech committee does is we look at all the good stuff that's on the market out there from the makers. And then we put our heads together and try to figure out how to beat the rap economically. One of the things that I've managed to come up with in the area of remote mics, I've adapted a camera microphone for digital camera making movies. But I found out I could put a conference microphone on those. Oh, I see, this way. Okay. Couldn't figure out the hand signals. Yeah. No, I get that question a lot during my presentations. Do you folks speak ASL? You know, I tell them, no, I don't speak ASL, just enough to negotiate rush hour traffic, you know. But I put a conference mic on this, and you set it in the middle of the table, and the user wears this little receiver, a listening device of his choice, and it's remarkable. I can hear everything you said around the table. Art was saying he had trouble with, ladies' voices, which is typical of most guys. We have high frequency loss. But these microphones can be adjusted by your smartphone to take care of that for you.
Is it
One here and have trouble?
maybe they're just tuning out the men? I mean, the women's voices, the men are just tuning out, so it's
Yeah.
not a technical issue.
Well, that's what I tell people at all of my presentations. I bring along our screening kiosk. And I tell people it's great because, particularly the guys, if you choose, we can send you a copy of your test that shows your high frequency loss, and you can prove that you don't have selective hearing, you have a physiological disability.
See that?
And it's actually gotten a couple people in there. So, the remote mics, there's nothing wrong with your hearing aids. The microphones in your hearing aids are as good as they get. The problem is they are deliberately designed for normal conversation distance, 5-6 feet. And if you got a distance beyond that, all bets are off. Worst case, the hearing aids interpret distant sounds as noise and they deliberately suppress it. So you got a problem there. Background noise can be a problem. That's where the remote mics come into their own. I've got a smaller one that I painted my wife in the car. And the audiologist has given me a sales pitch. She says, "Oh, it's great. You can hear your wife in the car and so forth." I said, "Well, that's great. You convinced me. You know, it cuts out all the road noise and everything. But where's the off switch?" Somebody in our Zoom group had a question.
I think we lost him.
We lost them.
He'll be
Okay.
back.
Well, when they come back in, maybe we'll get them. So if you've got the problem, and it's the number one problem is speech and noise. If you got the problem, it's not really your hearing aid. A lot of people claim we're doing great. But I still get feedback from users saying, that's where remote mics come in. They can really cut through all the background noise problems. Okay. If you're interested in remote mics, there's a handout here that explains why they work. There's also a handout here that gives you the detailed specs from Amazon on that inexpensive unit that I managed to put together. And finally, there's a handout here on those standalone loop listeners if you're interested in that. So help yourself to any of that. Okay, at this point, I'd like to hand it over to Lorin. Oh, Charlie.
Does anybody have a question
Sure.
before we do the transition?
Charlie is worth listening to because he used to take care of all this good stuff for the NTID over at the U of R or at RIT. So anything he tells you is high quality, but cut it in half and divide by 4.
Exactly. I'm going to show you one of the most popular devices that we have at the demo center. And that's because one of the most popular complaints we have of our guests, what's the number one thing that you have difficulty with? And that is hearing the television. And the result is there's usually more than one person watching TV at a time. And the person with the hearing loss has to turn the television up so loud that everybody else leaves the room. So there's been a lot of devices that try to address this issue, A lot of them have been very expensive. They're complicated to hook up. But this one device came along just recently, and I'll hold it up for the camera. So you can see it. It's the Sarionic TV sound box. And it's probably one of the most popular items at the demo center. I wish we got a commission for the sales that we make, because we probably sell 2 or 3 every demo center session. People go right out and buy them. One of the things that makes them so desirable is the cost. They're under $200. They're very, very easy to set up. They give you just about every cord and cable you could possibly use to connect to your television. In fact, you can connect it to a lot of other devices. And we don't have a television here today, but I'm actually going to try to use this. Lorin set up his smartphone, playing back an audio file. I believe it's just someone talking. And we just plugged it right into that. So in order to do this, I got to go off camera for a minute, but I'm going to wander around and let's hope that it works.
What our retired audiologist, Joe Kozelski, keeps telling us is that hearing is a distance problem. If you can put the sound on your ear, you're much better off than listening to a loudspeaker across the room. You don't have all that other noise adding to your confusion. This speaker really helps with that.
And another thing that's nice about it, this is Dan speaking, is you can hook it up to the TV and it won't cut out the sound of the TV and the TV speakers. But there are some devices plugged into, say, the headphone jack of the TV. It will cut the TV sound off. And I'm talking about other devices other than this. This has several options to prevent that from happening. Because what good is it if you're cutting the speaker of the TV off and the other person without hearing loss is trying to hear the TV? So this doesn't happen with this device. So here comes Art.
I just want to tell you the story about my own experience with this. When it first came out, Lorin brought one over to my house. And my wife, an awful lot of couples, it seems like the one partner has hearing loss, the other partner has excellent hearing. Well, that's the case in my family. My wife has excellent hearing, and she can even hear what I'm thinking about sometimes, but that's beside the point. Anyhow, yeah, you got that one right. But anyhow, we have a fairly nice TV, and there was a sound scale on it. See, and no, we had finally negotiated that we'd listen to TV at about 55 or 60 on the scale. Lauren brings it over, and I expect him to hook this thing up right away. And instead of hooking it up, he says to Ellen, "Okay, now the TV's on." He says, "Okay, now I'm going to start taking the sound down. Tell me when it's comfortable." He's going down, 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 down. He gets down to 23. She says, "Perfect. That's perfect. I know the TV's on. I can sense that. I cannot understand a word that's being said." So he hooks this thing up. He gets that going. He says, "Okay, sit down where you normally sit." He puts it next to me, and it's got that one knob on it. So it's very hard to get confused on doing it, which is very important when you're dealing with older people, that you don't have a lot of buttons to push. Okay. And so I'm listening to it. I'm comfortable. She's comfortable. She's listening off the TV sound. I'm listening off this thing. It's wonderful. Okay. As Lauren's walking out the door, she says, "Lauren, you should be a marriage counselor." True story. True story.
Thanks, Art. I also have a new announcement I just learned from the back table. For those of you, I guess we ran out of newsletters. Bruce just brought some additional ones. They're back on the back table there with Mary. So if you want a current newsletter, she's got them back there. Does anybody have any other questions about this device? And we'll turn it over to Lorin. Yeah, go ahead. Wait for the mic.
I'm so old fashioned. I still have a really old radio. Could you use that with a radio as well?
It would have to be the kind of radio that has a connection through a wire. Now, even old radios sometimes have, the beauty of this, what we're using today is the old fashioned headset output jack, which some old radios have a headset output, and this would plug right into it. So that would make it a lot easier. And this wire, like the others, comes with it. The newer TVs, it's a challenge to find some place to plug it in, because brand new TVs often have just one output that's called the coax optical output. The beauty thing is that this comes with a cable that'll plug into that as well. Yeah.
How on time do we have to be when we go in person to the demo center? What is the next date and location?
The
And
next,
how fast do we have to get there for pizza?
those are excellent questions. The next one is on Thursday, the 15th. And we start at 10 o'clock in the morning and we go until 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And you don't need an appointment. All you got to do is show up. Pizza usually arrives a little after noon. Yes, Barb?
Got a question over here too.
I just wanted, I have one of these, Art told me about the Sirionic, and they're wonderful. You can mute your regular TV, so there's no sound at all in your living room or wherever. And you can have your speaker box turned up as high as you want. You can take it in another room, in the bedroom, the bathroom, wherever you want to go. And it's still, you can hear what's going on. Can't see, of course, if you're too far away, but it's amazing how far you can take this thing away from the TV. So I just got new hearing aids and I can connect to another type of device, but I'm so happy with this. I don't know if I want to change over because it's really very good and it's reasonable.
Charlie, we have somebody over here.
Yeah, go ahead. Judy.
Please spell the name of the device, please.
The company is Sirionic. I'll pull it up. Judy, can you see that back
No,
there?
that's right. Please spell it. I cannot
Yep.
see that.
Serionic, Sirionic TV sound box.
Thank you.
You can find it on Amazon.
Get it on Amazon. Yeah. Lorin also reminded me of two other really neat features. First of all, and it's really hard to see, but on the side of the unit, there is a headphone jack. And so if you really want to spare the other person from listening to what you're hearing on this, you can always wear headsets and then it won't come out of the speaker in the front. It'll just come through the headsets. The other feature that's really neat is that you can also buy supplemental or additional receivers. You only need one of the base station, but it can transmit to multiple receivers at the same time. So if you have more than one person that's trying to listen, and the advantage of that is they'd each have their own box with their own sound, with their own volume control. So, yeah.
A lot of movies, the sound mixer thinks that the music is the most important thing. So the music totally overpowers the dialogue. But there's a speech extenuators switch on the back of the Sirionic So I can focus on speech and it actually subdues all the background music and everything. It's terrific, particularly if you're listening to some or watching some of the overseas movies where they're not speaking native English. Maybe it's subtitled, maybe it's dubbed, but I used to live in England, but I find it very helpful watching the British productions to have the speech emphasizer in there.
Yeah, a question, I think it was answered, that if you have two people, one hearing loss, one not, it's basically, you've got to use headphones to segregate the output from the TV versus what the. Well, you don't, yeah, you don't have to use headphones. That's if you really want to separate it. The beauty of this is the person with a hearing loss can be sitting in a different location in the room and only adjust the volume that they need if this is right up near them. And you'll notice, you may not remember when I walked around the room, the TV is up here. I was way back there.
Yeah. Okay. And another quick question I have, it's sort of related here. Are there ways to connect Bluetooth to a TV, to such a TV, so that one person just gets it through their hearing aids with a Bluetooth connection and the other person gets sound off the sound bar? That's maybe not related, but I don't know how to set that up. I can ask differentially.
Yeah, one of the groups of devices that we show at the demo center are standalone, what's called TV streamers. And instead of using this, it's a little transmitter that hooks into the TV and you can pair it with your hearing aid. Is that right, Lorin? You've used it before like that. And we do show that at the demo center. But you do have to have a hearing aid that's able to receive Bluetooth. And that's a whole other topic we're going to be touching upon. One of the restrictions of Bluetooth is usually you can only have one streaming device going at a time. There's a new technology we're going to talk about that may go, yeah. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Lorin. He's going to show you some other new toys.
Okay, what Charley was talking about is really, is that better? Can you hear me better now? There's a really very new technology. Am I okay? All right. I can't hear myself, which is probably a good thing. But the new technology that I would ask you to keep your eyes open for, keep watching for, is called Auracast. Auracast. It's really a Bluetooth technology. I imagine most people here are familiar with Bluetooth to some extent. We think of it as a technology that allows us to pair our phones to our hearing aids. And that's the only thing we can pair it with is one thing, right? Well, that's what changes with Auracast. It's an extension of the Bluetooth technology that enables it to broadcast to many different people as well at one time, just like this, which is sort of a precursor to. To be quite frank, I'm not sure exactly the relationship of this to Auracast, but this came out in a slightly earlier version of Bluetooth. And Auracast is in a later version of Bluetooth, but it's the same thing no matter how you look at it. Auracast at some point is going to take over from hearing loops. It might not be, well, I'm sure it won't be this year or next year. And in fact, the way it'll probably happen, this is just my opinion, is that it's sort of like when cars started displacing horses and buggies, right? You still saw horses and buggies, but eventually cars predominated. Well, that's what's going to happen, I think, with Auracast. But the thing is, if you're buying hearing aids today, or you're buying wireless earbuds, or you're buying a TV, you might be interested to just see if it supports Auracast, or if the manufacturer, even if it doesn't now, will the manufacturer upgrade your unit for free in the future? Because 2 or 3 years down the road, it's very likely, and I don't know if I mentioned hearing aids, but hearing aids as well. 2 or 3 years down the road, you're probably going to be walking into some facility where they advertise we have Auracast, but oh, by the way, we don't have a hearing loop. At that point, you'll think, gee, I wonder if my hearing aids have Auracast. Or you might even be thinking, gee, I wish I had waited a little while to buy my hearing aids or my earbuds. Maybe. I'm just sort of guessing. Who knows what's going to happen, but keep your eyes open for it. Follow it in the news. Now, the only Auracast device I know about right now is one that we got from the manufacturer, which is a small Taiwanese company. And I spoke to the one of the developers there. And this is what the device looks like. This is a transceiver. There's a switch on it. You can either make it a transmitter, or you can make it a receiver, depending on where you throw that switch. So suppose you all had a device like this right now. You could switch it on to receive mode, and I would switch mine on to transmit mode, and you would hear everything I say. Everybody at the same time would hear it perfectly in unison. There wouldn't be any delay. So that is the way the future is going to look. It's going to be interesting to watch it. It's a big, big deal, in my opinion. Probably the biggest change in technology that we've had in a number of years. So, and I can demonstrate that later if you'd like to hear what it sounds like. The other thing about this is that it advertises much better sound quality than they get in some of the current devices. And I can confirm that. If you listen to this, you'll hear that it can be used for high quality stereo as well. You can plug the transmitter into your stereo. You can plug it into your phone. You can plug it into your TV, actually. You can plug it into your smartphone if you want to. And it's going to be very versatile. I think, yeah. Question? Move over to make a motion.
Since you're well aware of what preceded this in horse and buggy days, could you explain to us without much tech background how this is so different, and how did you get the physical device? And is this the first and only one that has been manufactured by Auracast?
Okay, Auracast doesn't make anything. Auracast is a specification of the committee that is responsible for Bluetooth. So Auracast tells you what it should do, how you implement it, that type, or not how you implement it, but what requirements it needs to satisfy. This one came directly from the manufacturer, and you can buy it on Amazon. In fact, if you go to our Virtual Demo Center, which you get to from the hearinglossrochester.org homepage, you go there and you click on devices, and you will see Auracast sort of at the bottom of that page. If we get a chance in a few minutes, Charlie, are you able to find that possibly and show it? we can give you a view of what the virtual demo center looks like. And by the way, that will show you any of the devices that we have in the live demo center. And it shows you a lot of things other than that. Eric alluded to hearing aids. There's a whole page on links to hearing aid manufacturers that allows you to take a look at the accessories that they all offer. Right.
I have a question that came in. It's somebody from online. Will Auracast work with hearing aids that don't have Bluetooth?
Auracast will not work directly with hearing aids that don't have Bluetooth. In fact, Bluetooth is a necessity. It's necessary, but not sufficient. Let me say that. You need the right version of Bluetooth, and it has to have the right software built into it. So for anybody who's interested, it's version 5.2 of Bluetooth and higher. There are, yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, so here you'll see, you can click on any of those links. Click on, since I wear a phone app, click on phone. And it'll take you directly to the page that shows hearing aid accessories that are made by phone app. And even though we've showed you a number of devices, I think your best bet is always, if you can get a hearing assistive device from the manufacturer of that hearing aid or a cochlear implant, you can't do better than that. So that's where I would start. If they don't have the device or you don't like the price, then certainly some of the things we have are available.
When you do proprietary items, they tend to be extremely expensive, fortunately, sometimes in the thousands, sometimes several hundreds. But like Lorin said, those are probably the best items that will pair with your hearing aids with the least amount of in-between kind of connectivity. But that, like that question I mentioned before, if your hearing aids don't have Bluetooth, you're going to have some form of device to connect to that, whether it's a streamer or something in between. It could be your cell phone. It could be, it all depends. But here's an example. Let's say we all go to a bar and the bar is extremely noisy and there's 10 TVs with different football games going on or several different sports and they're all muted. So you see, let's say you're a Buffalo Bills fan and you want to hear what's being said on the Buffalo Bills fan, the TV. You can tune into that TV with the Auracast technology and basically stream it into your hearing aids, or into headphones to a receiver. Or if you're a hearing person without hearing aids and you happen to have like those Apple iPods, it's not happening now, but it's going to happen, where they can wear their earbuds that you see everybody wearing nowadays.
Well,
they'll be able to tune into that particular TV and pick up on what's being said.
yeah, multiple streams are coming later.
Yes.
What that's going to require is for the manufacturers of Auracast transmitters. Some of the big names like Williams Sound, Listen Tech, Contacta, to create transmitters that can handle multiple input streams. And then you would have an app on your smartphone, an Auracast app on your smartphone. And that app would search when you walk into that facility Dan's talking about. It would search for the available streams, and then you just select the one you want to listen to. But I think for us, for most of us, is that this is also really a good device for listening to one other person. When you're in the restaurant, you say, here, clip this on your lapel. It's too noisy in here. And then I will listen to it, and maybe I'm streaming it directly into or maybe I'm streaming that directly into my hearing aids, or I'm streaming it into my earbuds. Now, I know that, trying to think, Samsung makes a version of their earbuds that have Auracast in it today. There are 2 hearing aid manufacturers I'm aware of that have Auracast in the hearing aid. They're actually both by the same parent company. It's GM And one brand is Resound. They have a new version, I think it's called the Neo, which has Auracast today. And another another brand that's also owned by GM is Jabra. You know, we used to think of Jabra as the company that made those little speakers you put on your visor in your car. And you could, you know, listen on your phone through the speaker. But they've really advanced to make some quite good hearing aids these days. So they have Auracast as well, and they're, I forget the exact model it is. I'm expecting that other manufacturers might be announcing very soon. And by the way, like Dan said, you know, it's almost impossible to keep up with it. So there may be more manufacturers of hearing aids and earbuds and TVs out there today than we're able to even keep up with. Samsung has a TV as well that has Auracast. In fact, if you know of any, if you see any, as you're sort of watching the literature, you know, on the web or magazines, drop us a line and let us know, because we'd like to include it. Charlie, when you were showing that, you showed the Nexum Rochi in there. Yeah, demo center devices. Yep. And then scroll down to the end of the first section. New products, and that's it. That's the thing I just showed you. By the way, you can plug that little that little USB thing into your computer, or really into a number of devices, and it will transmit. So I think one of the really big deals with Auracast is that the technology is very accessible, and it's going to lower the cost of being able to hear better. So I think it's in all of our best interest just to keep an eye out for it. And that's all I want to say. Any other questions? How are we doing on time? Okay, well, what we can do, we can sort of wing it here a little bit and talk about some other devices if you want to. You know what we could do is show it, and we'll talk about a couple of the devices as we go along. You want to do that?
Sure. Whatever you want to do. I don't, unless anybody has a question. You know, if anybody has a problem area and they're wondering what could we do to make it easier or better, just some ideas.
Just real simply, if I understand it, Auracast is another generation, and it's distinctly different from Bluetooth. So the fact that you have Bluetooth at some version 5.2 or whatever will not interface with whatever is coming through Auracast. They're two totally separate
You
entities.
need to be can you hear me okay? Can you hear me okay? Okay. Version 5.2 of Bluetooth is the version you need to support Auracast. So like I said, it's necessary to buy a product with at least that version. But if you see a product that has version 5.2 and it doesn't say anything about Auracast, first thing I would do is either ask whoever is selling it or ask the manufacturer, are you going to be able to upgrade this product to support Auracast in the future? Because I know you need different software downloaded into the product. And if they say yes, then you're good to go with that version. Otherwise, you can wait, because eventually they may support it. I don't know if I answered your whole question. Okay.
Some products like the Cochlear America has a cochlear implant that has the Auracast in it.
Yeah.
However, it's not activated without a firmware update. And they haven't released the update. They have it ready to go when it becomes feasible to make it available. All you got to do is a
You can-
firmware update.
Well, you
which
can
is the
say, look,
software
I've
thing.
got a transmitter, go ahead and update it.
Yeah,
But that's
you got
right.
to go with the manufacturer and have them update your Cochlear America.
Yeah.
You know,
The large manufacturers just haven't produced transmitters yet that we know of. all right? But that will be coming along soon. It's going to be like that big train coming down the track, you know, it's going to happen. So you might as well take time and learn something about it.
And I just got another question. What powers Auracasts?
What powers it?
What power is it? Yeah. It's kind of not the right question to ask, I don't think.
Well, first of all, Auracast would be a capability in the device that you already have. So let's say you have earbuds. Auracast is just a program that runs, essentially think of it as a program that runs inside those earbuds. And you can maybe, you know, with your smartphone, you can select Auracast to receive any transmission of Auracast that's going on. But it's really powered by the device itself. And it's not an add-on. It requires the manufacturer of the device to include that feature in their product. If that didn't answer the question, ask.
The receiver, do you have to charge it? That's,
Well, the receiver, whatever your receiver is, it might be your hearing aids. As I mentioned, Resound has Auracast within one version of their hearing aids today that you can buy. And of course, you charge up your hearing aids, and Auracast is just, you know, it's a program. So there's nothing separate you need to do there. Just keep your hearing aids charged up.
I think the easiest way to Auracast is think of it as a t-coil. It's just something that's built in within something, and that's something you need to keep charged.
That's right. Yeah.
So,
I just want to comment, as you're talking, Lauren, I'm thinking about some of my experience with technology over the years and implementing new stuff and how fast technology is moving. I think we have to get used to the idea that what is new today is going to be obsolete 4 or 5 years from now because something else is going to overshoot it. Now, Auracast is something that's going to be here, but 5.2 will probably be overshot a few years from now by a 5.3 or a 5.4. See what I'm saying? So we have to get used to the idea that we're going to buy a piece of technology, and that technology is going to probably become technologically obsolete before it actually wears out. We're used to, you know, those of us that are older, we're used to stuff lasting a long time. We used to buy a TV set and it would last 20 years. Now you buy a TV set and, you know, it lasts about 5 or 6 because the circuits sometimes start to break down if you're using it too much. Okay. So the point I'm trying to make is we have to get a mindset of we want the new technology, but don't be too quick to buy the latest and greatest right off the shelf because you might want to wait like a year until it settles down a little bit, you know. And then once you get it, you got to realize that like your hearing aids, for instance, we say they last 7 years. Some people go 10 years. But if somebody's had hearing aids for 7, 8, 9, 10 years and they get new hearing aids, they're going to be surprised at all the new things that have been built in, you know. So that's, you know, that's what we're dealing with. It happened that I bought a TV set, a very nice TV set about 5 years ago, but given my family situation at home with a son that lives home and he has the TV on all the time, we probably put 10 years of use on it in 5 years. And the thing started to break down. So I bought a new TV set and when of the same class. And what amazed me is the remote that used to be like longer than my hand, you know, it was like here down to here. Now it's about the size of a pack of gum, you know, a big cap pack of gum, and it's solar powered. And there aren't many buttons on it. And what I'm learning is that there's many things that if you want to do it, you just tell it what you want to do. You just talk to it and it gives you what you need. Okay. So like, for instance, I want to turn the captions on, you say captions and the captions are on. Okay. Or the other night, I couldn't find the app for HBO Max. So I just said, HBO Max, and HBO Max came up. See, so this is what's happening with technology. I'm just saying that because stuff moves so fast today, and we that are older have to get used to the fact that it's moving fast. So try to buy stuff when it becomes stable and then realized you're gonna live with that for a while. And something new is gonna come along and it might be nice to have, and maybe you don't really need it, you know? Okay.
What Art said about Bluetooth or about not buying the new. Bluetooth 5.2 was the first version that would support Auracast. However, 5.3 is out. And 5.4 might be as far as I know, but I'll tell you how much I don't know. I said, I want to buy a little cheap pair of earbuds that has version 5.3 because I might like to show that in the demo center. So I bought a pair. I won't tell you what I paid, though it wasn't a lot. When I got them in the mail, I thought, if 5.3, I must have Auracast, right? LE audio. Well, that's another term. But anyway, I got them, I put them in, listened to them on my phone, just normally like you would listen to earbuds. And I thought, hey, these things sound great. They have nice tone, good quality. And then I tried to figure out how to enable Auracast. They don't have Auracast. But that's all right. I didn't risk a lot of money. But still, I can use them for other things. But you specifically have to find out, even if it has those higher versions of Bluetooth, if it supports Auracast specifically. Otherwise, you can be pretty sure it doesn't. And if it doesn't, like I said earlier, then and you really want to buy that product, well, then find out if the manufacturer is going to upgrade it to Auracast later. You might be okay. Otherwise, you have to buy a different product. Anything else?
Is Auracast linked with a previous company? What is the history? I know I can look online, but I'm curious now. Did it spring out of nothing or is it already linked?
This is all part of Bluetooth. And there are many manufacturers that incorporate Bluetooth functionality. But there is a special group that manages Bluetooth, and you can just go and look for Bluetooth on the website or on the web, and you'll find a link to their site. And that's where you'll find pretty much everything you need to know about it. So Bluetooth specifies, that group specifies what you need to do to build a Bluetooth device. Let me put it that way. And then manufacturers can take that and they can build it. They'll most likely go out and buy a little Bluetooth chip that they can put in their devices. Did that answer your question? Yeah? No? Okay. In the back?
Yep, I'll come around.
This is kind of off the beaten path, but I don't have anything Bluetooth really. I'm going to buy new hearing aids sometime soon, and so I'm probably get something. But I always wondered about the name. Where the hell did Bluetooth come from? It's such a weird name.
You know, that is sort of, yeah, well, it's sort of irritating to me that they do that, but we have all this jargon so that you don't know what it is. Bluetooth, first of all, it's just another wireless device. You know, Marconi introduced, or was the first one to, I think, broadcast wirelessly, right? When you look at all these other wireless devices, they're just some version of wireless. Bluetooth is a particular specification about how you transmit a wireless signal in Bluetooth fashion. And Bluetooth was named after some Norse god or king or whatever that actually had a blue tooth. Go figure. Who was it? Harold Gormanson? Harold the Blue, probably, right? They would just call it wireless, you know. It would really help the rest of us to understand it. Bruce.
He was King Harold Bluetooth Corenson, who was well known for two things. He united Denmark and Norway, and his dead tooth was replaced by wooden that was blue. And when they had the committee that created Bluetooth, and they're looking for a name, they used that because of the united everybody. It united all these different protocols for transmitting music and stuff, and that's how I got the name, because he united things, so they united things.
I have a question. What's
All
the
right.
best device now for in the car? That's a big problem for me. And I'm wondering if there's anything newer besides an FM. Something that's remote so I don't have to be tethered.
I'm sorry,
Yeah. Conversations in the car.
for conversations in the car? Remote mic. Yeah, that's the right thing. I use that when we're in the car. I have a remote mic for my Phonak hearing aids. By the way, these are 8 years old now, and I don't have Bluetooth. But I hand the remote mic to my wife, and she clips it on, and I can hear what she's saying. If she doesn't clip it on, I can't hear what she's saying. Yeah, it's, can't hold it up. They work very well, and they work well to put in the middle of a table as well if you're sitting around the table. So, was that sufficient? Okay.
Don't need the mic, but I'll use it. I can still drive a Model T, but how do you get Bluetooth at your house? On either the computer or smartphone?
Well, if you have a computer, it has to come with the computer, or you can buy little Bluetooth dongles. You know, they're little USB things you plug in. They're only about that big. No, you would plug the device in, right? Yep, exactly. Okay. Just once. Oh, yeah, DONGLE, right. Yep. That's not one of those well-known words. Sort of like Bluetooth. How did you spell that the first time you heard it, you know? More? Okay, how much time do we have?
We have 8 minutes.
Okay, tell you what, let's do a quick look again then at the demo center.
I see something, Mary Beth Mothershaw has a question.
Oh, all right.
Can you put it back up? Does Bluetooth work with T-coil, or is that different technology? Do they work together?
Yeah, there are completely different technologies. So the T-coil, of course, uses the signal that comes from the wire that runs around the room that is being energized by someone speaking into a microphone. And the T-coil is a little antenna. I like to think of it as just like radio, AM radio or FM radio. You got a transmitter out there somewhere, and you have a little transistor radio, and you open the back, and you can see this wire wound antenna sitting in your radio. So you got the transmitter and you have the antenna. It's the same with the T-coil. You pick up the signal from that wire that runs around the room that's broadcasting, And the little T-coil, which is actually a really tiny coil of wire that sits inside your hearing aid, it picks that up and plays it right into your ear. And Bluetooth is, well, that you could say, well, that's wireless too, isn't it? Yeah, it is, because you're picking up that electromagnetic signal. But Bluetooth is a bit different than that. Bluetooth is transmitted from the transmitter, and it's a sort of a different, without getting into it technically, I sort of hate to do that. It's, I'm just gonna dig myself in a deep hole trying to explain this and then that and then that. So, but anyway, I hope that helps with your question. They are different.
I always heard, and I may be wrong, but the difference between Bluetooth and FM and other things was the distance. Is that been corrected?
Well, that could be a characteristic. The difference between Bluetooth and FM and other things, there are a lot of characteristics of each one. FM, we know is, they can broadcast that signal, if it's on a FM radio. I think it's around 50 miles, isn't it? Something like that. AM radio, I mean, that can go hundreds of miles. Yeah, yeah. And if you're talking though about personal communications, the FM transmitters that we have, like the ones we have in the demo center, for instance, they have, I think, a range of about 100 feet or so. Bluetooth that you have, maybe in one of just regular Bluetooth, generally is only about 30 feet. And that was done on purpose because they don't want to be broadcasting all over the place. It's meant for close-in personal transactions from you to your TV, you to your radio, you to somebody's small Bluetooth transmitter. And is that what you were looking for, Al? But that's a characteristic of Bluetooth and FM is the distance. That when you get into the protocols, as they call them, how do we actually get something to you so you can understand what we're sending? Well, the radio is pretty simple, right? It just broadcasts the audio as an electromagnetic wave, and your radio decodes that. It's fairly easy. Same with FM. Bluetooth is a whole different thing. It's rather than an analog transmission like FM or AM, it's called a digital transmission. And that's because even though underneath it's all analog, everything is analog being transmitted. It's how you interpret what you're seeing. And when digital transmission, you interpret those waves as ones and zeros. And then it gets complicated after that. Anything? Oh, one more question. Oh, we need a microphone back there. Do we have time?
Got 3 minutes.
Okay. What's that? Bluetooth has a.
I'm
they
going to
call-
help you wrap up here.
Oh, okay.
For the last newsletter, Dan quoted me as saying, there's no better time to have a hearing loss than now because of all the technological advances that have come through. It's easier to be a person with hearing loss now. One thing he didn't say was that one of the best places to live is Rochester, New York, if you have a hearing loss. Because just look around here. We have 48 people. 2 people just signed up and wanted to become members. If anybody else wants to do that, I'm happy to take your check. I don't usually do this, but I think you're a captive audience. And don't forget next month because we're going to be doing healthcare next month.
Okay, and for one last thing.
Thank you, Mary.
for the question that came in on the web, on Zoom. The Bluetooth frequency is 2.4 gigahertz, which is the same frequency as the as Wi-Fi and your microwave and other things. So,
There might be one more question on the chat, I think I'm hearing. Do you know what frequency BT transmitted on? I think you did answer that. Okay.
and if anybody
Thank
is interested in this,
Yeah,
sometime
just
we
don't
could,
forget the evaluations that are on the table. Please fill those out. Then we'll have Art close.
no, I'm electrical.
Well, I want to thank the tech team for doing a great job this afternoon. If you're confused, don't feel that you're alone. These guys get going and they lose me. And, I used to be considered somebody that was up on technology, but it moves. So anyhow, thank you all for coming. Fill out the evaluation forms. Next month, we're going to have a we're going to have a double feature next month. We're going to have a presentation by a gal from the county probation office. And you might say, what the hell you got somebody coming from the county probation office for? Well, Marlene Sutcliffe heard this gal give a presentation on a brand new program that's countywide that has to do with teens and teen crime and teen rehabilitation. It's really a public safety thing that is the reason we're having her speak. I hear she's fairly dynamic. But the thing is that we're all concerned about our own safety in our neighborhoods and so forth. The county's trying to do something about it. They're trying to get the word out. So we're going to give her about 20 minutes. And then we're going to have a small panel talking about the healthcare task force, our own healthcare task force focused on hospitals and where we are now.